Hello out there, it's Green Guy with Green Guy Finance. Again, coming at you with another video. A little bit of the intraday plays for the market, a little bit of forward thinking about tomorrow's stocks in particular, certain stocks to keep an eye on in the AM, and a couple trending sectors today thrown in the mix. The macro analysis, as always. I would say this before we start off with anything here today, is that there's a couple things that I find very disturbing by some of the people that I've been reading about. Not the followers that I've gotten and your questions. They're good, keep them coming by, but about some of the professionals out there that are just idiots giving horrible advice in these market environments. The first one I would say is there's a couple articles I read where now is a great time to buy a put. And I would say for those of you that read that and gave it any second thought, now is a horrible time to buy a put. Listen to it from me. It's horrible. The options pricing is really high. For those of you that didn't catch me texting about that today, it's really high. A good indicator of options prices is the VIX. And it's just astronomical at the moment. 16s, 18s, very comfortable buying puts and calls. When you get into the 25s, people, it's time not to think about buying puts. You should have had it on already. It's too late, to be honest, to buy a put in this environment and make a good amount of money off of it for a hedge in particular. If you have a stock position in, oh God, say Apple, right, and you're taking a put out against Apple, the pricing is so bad that you're never going to make back the money that you put in a hedge. That's just the reality of it. Again, because of the pricing. So you generally want to buy a low-priced option so you can make a double, triple, quadruple, etc., so that you can take a 15% loss in your stock and not have to dump your stock. But this is not that time. Honestly, it's not that time. Now's the time to sell options. The price has gotten so high. So for those of you hearing that, I would say those people are idiots. Mark them for stupidity. And the only people that should be buying puts are doing it for scalping purposes, not for long-term hedging purposes, because long-term hedges are out the window at the moment, again, unless you're shorting options, unless you're going short selling options. The other things that I've been reading about the market that are just very disturbing are that people think there's no positive sectors. That's one of the reasons I'm going to be going through 3 trending green sectors, and one of them I played here today that made me good money on a stock buy. What causes that is that you're starting to see value buys, for one. For two, there's a pattern that emerges is when the momos and big names sell off, some institutions look to low float names to squeeze them to make a little bit of a temporary profit. They're going to squeeze and then dump the stock to make a buck. And we're going to go through one sector that might have happened. The Ebola plays here today, which might have very well just had a short squeeze because it seemed very unrelated to the news. No catalysts really, except there was a story out, but we will go through that. It could have just been a pure short squeeze. And those are the 2 big things I would say about misconceptions. Before we go through the macro here, I would say one thing about the macro, which is that it's a good idea here to keep in mind, despite all these red bars and the horrible doom and gloom and everything else, that we've had some very positive trends come out of today. You've heard it here first. I haven't seen it too many other places. Very, very small voices, I would say. But we've had some very positive trends come out of the macro environment here today that we're going to go through. The other thing is it's time to start thinking about what a reversal looks like. So get that picture in your head, because it's a good way to make money on a reversal. If you can catch it, you will definitely get a double, very easily a double. Now, think about the past year. Every time we've had these bull days and the reversals, they've been huge V-shaped buyback patterns. Don't forget that, people. That could very well happen here. Despite all the nasty volume and all the European news and everything else, we could very well have a V-shaped rally off of the bottom. We will eventually have an end to this correction. We are 6% plus into it currently, and the most people are expecting is 10%. So you're more than halfway to the bottom very easily. And there's no guarantee we're going to go all the way to the bottom. So keep your ear to the ground and listen for the stampeding sound of bulls, okay? Because it could happen very easily. What do you see stock-wise, when that happens, you see a couple things. You see hot names suddenly emerge out of nowhere. That's one thing you're always going to see. Hot names suddenly come up, growth plays, small caps become much more trending, much more visible, and the fear is a little bit dissipated and allows for that. And the other thing is you're going to see a couple Momo names have monstrous buyback days. We haven't had the Momo days yet. We've had 3 trending sectors go green here. There's no guarantee those are going to stay green, but we've had a little bit of that feeling here today, even amidst all the insane selling off. Another added thing is that the SPY is at the bottom of this long channel that we've had established here. You guys have seen these on the videos going back for forever, where you hit a bottom of the channel, which should make tomorrow a little bit interesting because it's going to be butting up against that line. So if there's going to be massive selling, I would expect to see quite a bit of fighting, support-driven bullish activity off that bottom, so we can stay on a nice patterned sell-off as opposed to breaking through it. Breaking through it could very well happen, but it's going to be an interesting fight is the point. So look for that going into tomorrow. Now, Russell must be mentioned here in this video, and I know I'm talking about a lot, but the Russell must be mentioned as having a surprising trend break, which is the Russell was not the ugly-headed, red-headed stepchild that we've been discussing here in these videos. It actually had a better day than the other major indices. Broke through pivot going down on the day. But here, look at the NASDAQ, the Qs broke through the S1 pivot line and nothing else. Dow 2, we broke through 2, the S1, S2, SPY, S1, and S2. So Russell actually behaved better than the others today, if you can believe it, despite the fact Russell's been so nasty to us recently. So keep an eye on this. If this trend keeps up, it could be very positive. The other thing that I noticed here today was the behavior of the small caps. Now this is TNA, the small cap bull 3 times share ETF. Look, it opened almost at the same place that it closed the day before and did not have a dive, even close to what everything else did today. It actually held its ground pretty well. I would take this as a positive sign. We're seeing cyclical changes. The small caps are holding their own, which is a very good thing for us that we want to see an eventual reversal here. The RSX, this is looking a little positive too. We talked about that bottoming a while ago. Today was one of my stock plays that I bought was Yandex, essentially an internet company in Russia. What was today's green little bar about? Today's green little bar was about one thing and one thing only, was Putin went back on the other side of the border. And don't think that anything in this market is about saving lives, people. You have to be in the mindset that this market is out to get you, and it's a little masochistic and absolutely sadistic. But it is just about the sanctions being lifted. That is all that is about. So I saw a couple poorly worded articles that had the total incorrect hypothesis about what was going on with the Russian sector today. It's just about the sanctions. That's it. There's no geopolitical trend. It hasn't trended with geopolitical events in a long time in terms of the war and the artillery shells and everything else. That is it, okay? Going on to oil. Let's just make a quick note on oil. Oil was not as ugly as it has been recently. Had a little bit of a dip down. Gold had a little bit of safety buying here today, as you can see by that. We want to keep an eye on those. We want to keep an eye on those for one specific reason, which commodities were a huge cause of the stampeding here that's been the sell-off. It freaked a lot of people out. So keep an eye on those, absolutely. Treasuries also had a lot of safety buying here today, if you want to take a look at it. So we're in the 120s now. And how much higher could it go? Good God, I don't know. It's looking very interesting, though. All right, so let's go through a couple of the charts that we said we would look through. Triple D, Pandora, and Tesla pretty quick here. Pandora, really easy note. Bottom of the downward channel that's been established going back months. It's touched that, so I would keep it on a definite watch for news catalysts, upcoming upgrades and downgrades also. Triple D, 3D Systems. I'll show you the actual comparison chart, which I think is a little bit easier to get an idea of what happened there. The sector is performing very well. I would also keep an eye on this. It was one of the few green sectors of the day was the 3D printers. And Triple D and those others might have found a bottom. Triple D is usually the leader. So it's more an indication that Triple D has found a bottom than the others. But absolutely interesting trend amidst a bloody day. And then Tesla. Tesla found a support line in the middle of the day here that is absolutely worth keeping an eye on. It could hold true throughout the rest of the week there. Yeah, going back recently, Tesla's had that model that they came out with last week on Thursday and unveiled, and it's gotten a horrible reception since. I think people have the Tesla story wrong. I would keep an eye out because I think those sales are going to be better than expected. There's two ways to make money in any market. One is you go luxury, the other is you sell the cheapest. And with those two models, you can be successful in a lot of different business areas. Tesla made an expensive car. I think people are actually going to be enticed by it. It looked really cool on the Bloomberg interview, if you didn't see that, with Elon Musk in the car. And I think that people are definitely overreacting to this. And it might be that people are understanding that. Ford and GM, also don't forget those correlate with Tesla, and so does Solar City. So keep those three correlates in mind whenever you want to play Tesla. Going through the other plays here today, like I said, Russia, green. Very easy play today, people. I just bought a stock that I knew would go up. Went up to 4%, and I could have cashed in for an easy 4% here. I'm holding. I honestly think it's going to get better from here. We'll see if I'm right, but it's currently at 25.08 closing out the day. I think it could absolutely go higher from here. The other things of the day that were worth noting was Dries. Dries had a downgrade and was an easy double on options. I did not play this one. Hopefully some of you did catch that. But definitely there's money to be made on options, sometimes buying if you get a big name. But this was honestly about as good as I saw in terms of an options play. If you called the SPY perfectly from bottom to top, you barely made a double today. It's getting a little hard to make a buck early week in this market environment. Here's the Ebola plays of the day. Like I talked about, I would talk about a stock that had either a squeeze or a news catalyst. Those were the Ebola stocks, and you can throw TKMR into this list as well, but I currently have the hazmat guys, Lake and APT, up on the screen. And you can see at about 3:30 here, they had a bit of a bump, and it's debatable what that could be from. There was a little bit of a Boston airplane scare with Ebola that could have been the cause of that. It could also just be a short squeeze. There's one pattern to keep an eye out for when you have a market downward correction style happening. That is short squeezes on low float stocks can become much bigger in terms of what you're going to see in a squeeze. The reason for that is very simple, is because institutions are selling out of other things. They look for other places to put their money into. Short squeezing, manipulating is what a short squeeze is. An upward movement in a stock, getting shorts to cover their shorted position is a great way for institutions to make easy money without a whole lot of putting cash in. You got to be really careful with these sorts of plays when the market's like this, more so than usual. And I think that's really all that we need to go through. I'm surprised that got through that many stocks tonight because there was quite a few. But all in all, it's worth noting in a market environment like this that you have to have the mindset of tomorrow and a bullish day still in your mind and be paranoid about it to make money. But you're going to do well as long as you have a defensive mindset and you look for the signs, and they should be pretty apparent. Just be careful, people. And like I said, you follow me, I will do well by you, absolutely. I tend to have one huge play a week for a double on the options side of things, and I do shorts and buy stock at the same time. So you have to be very versatile in a market like this. And if you guys have any questions, and I imagine there might be a few, send them my way. I don't mind it at all. In the future videos, we'll be going through a little bit of the morning macro. I've had trouble working that in with my morning routine, but we will be getting that on in there. Hope you guys do well tomorrow. You know, today was a little bit of a bloodbath for most stocks, but there's plays every day. You just have to know where to look for them. Okay? So, luck. Take care.